Brothers, sisters, sons and daughters of Fenris, warriors of the storm, wolves who fear nothing but dishonor. Gather close, feel the fire of the battle yet to come. Taste the iron in your mouths, and listen well, for I speak to you now of the legacy we carry, the path our ancestors carved in blood and war, and the duty that yet remains before us. The time for half measures is over. The hour of reckoning has come. The worm gnashes its fangs, and the weak falter. But we do not falter. We are the Get of Fenris, and we shall do what we have always done, stand against the storm and break it upon our backs. But before we march to the final war, before we test our fangs against the greatest darkness the world has ever known, hear now the history of our people. Hear now why we alone stand unbroken. We were never tame, never bound to false civility, never leashed by weakness. When the world was young, when the wild still shaped the lands and the weaver had not yet spun her choking web, we ran beneath the sky, wild and free, with the first Guru. But even then, even in those primal days, we knew the truth. Strength is the only law that matters. The weak perish, the strong endure, and only the worthy may call themselves warriors of Gaia. And so, we tested ourselves. We fought, we bled, we crushed our enemies beneath fang and claw. Some called us brutes, savages, mad dogs who lived for war alone. But they did not understand. The world was harsh, and only those willing to fight could protect it. We were the shield, the sword, the hammer that broke the bones of those who sought to defile Gaia's creation. We did not cower behind councils and politics. We did not squabble like lesser wolves over scraps of wisdom. We stood, we fought, and we bled for Gaia. The weaver's grip tightened, civilization rose, and the weaklings began to forget their purpose. But we did not. We carved our dominion in the lands of ice and storm, in the fjords and forests of the north, where only the strong could survive. There, we became more than Guru. We became legend. It was in those lands that the wolf god Fenris first tested us. Oh yes, you have heard the name. Fenris, the great wolf, the devourer of weakness, the unchained beast who would rather die fighting than live in chains. He saw in us kindred spirits, warriors who would never bow. And so, he gave us his name, his blessing, and his purpose. To be Get of Fenris is to be tested, to be forged in war. We do not coddle our young. We do not tolerate weakness. Only those who prove their strength earn the right to stand among us. Some call this cruelty. I call it honor. A warrior who cannot fight is already dead. We ensure that only the strong remain. And so we fought, always, against the worm, against the weaver's cowards, against all who would defile this world. But the greatest betrayal came when the wolves of the south, the Silver-Fangs, those arrogant, gilded cowards, chose to bind themselves in politics and deception. When they declared their right to rule, we laughed in their faces. What ruler does not fight at the front? What alpha hides behind words and decrees? They called us rebels. They said we did not understand. But we understood perfectly. The strong lead and the weak follow. They would not lead, and so we cast them aside. And when the war of rage came, when the other Farah turned against us, did we hesitate? No. We fought, as we have always fought. We crushed them beneath our paws and showed them the fate of those who forget their place. Some say it was a mistake. I say it was necessary. The world does not have the luxury of coddling those who cannot defend it. And still, the war did not end. The leeches came next, the worm's favored puppets, and we did what we were born to do. We burned them from the face of the earth. Now, brothers and sisters, The past is behind us, and the future looms like a great battlefield before us. This is not a time for hesitation. The worm rises. The filth of corruption spreads like a disease across the world. The silver fangs are broken. The bone gnawers scurry in the gutters. The children of Gaia whisper of peace, while the sword is at our throats. And yet, they call us the villains. They say we are too harsh, too cruel, too unwilling to compromise. I say they are fools. There is no compromise with the worm. There is no peace to be made with corruption. There is only war, and we, the Get of Fenris, we were born for this. So I call to you now, to every Garou with blood in their veins and fury in their hearts, fight with us. Stand at our sides as we bring the war to the worm one final time. Let the weak cower in their dens. Let the cowards beg for mercy. But we shall bring Ragnarok, for we are the Get of Fenris. We are the wolves of war, and we shall never kneel